Congratulations, you have stumbled upon episode 54 of Three Things with Ian, February 23rd here. Beautiful Sunday. Sun is shining once again, 2 days in a row. Feeling blessed. On today's episode, we will talk about, per a listener question, mailbag, why do people fight in hockey? We'll talk about some of the trends in hockey fighting and why it's decreasing, why it began to begin with. We will talk about another podcast. Had another listener, viewer, watcher, ask me about another podcast recommendation. I have one at the ready. And lastly, let's talk logos. I love a list. I banned the word listicle, so I'm not saying it. Just did. We're going to talk about what makes a great logo. What are the top 10 logos of all time? Right? I love a good logo and marketing. All right, let's dive in. So, hockey and fighting. Since the beginning of time, hockey time, there have been what are really actual fights, not just pushing and shoving, but when two players throw down the gloves, throw down the sticks, and they are pugilists. They're actually fighting. Why has this happened? This is strange. Why is this condoned? Why do we allow this? Well, it sounds weird, but the origins of fighting in hockey is actually kind of an escape valve. It's actually a depressurization. It's better when tensions get high and things get chippy. It's actually safer for the players historically to fight with their fists. They have a lot of padding. They don't always get a clean punch to the face. It's actually safer than someone taking their stick or their skate and sort of hitting somebody unabated, somebody not paying attention, right? The worst thing in sports is when somebody, the helpless defenseless player syndrome, where someone is not expecting a hit and then their body gets smashed and they tense up and there's a lot of damage. So fighting was typically done back in the day by what was called an enforcer. This was a player who could skate, but to be honest, could do little else. Fourth string player, really his role was an enforcer. He was to make sure that you knew if you hit the opposing team in a way that was disrespectful or crossed the line, he would come in and he would kind of be that reset valve. He would fight the other enforcer, right? The star players, right? The Gretzkys, the Ovechkins, the Crosbys, they rarely actually fight. They have fought. If you Google, their stats, you will see fights, but they rarely do so. So hockey is a very violent sport, and actually to decrease the violence, they decided that it would be good to just do a little scrapping. Like I said, there are fights that end in bloody noses and broken teeth, but in general, you're very tired, you're gassed, you're winded, all the padding, all the extraness, it's hard to get a clean shot, and you're mostly just kind of like, sparring. So anyway, that was the first reason. Another thing that's obvious is team momentum, getting the fans involved, right? When you fight, everybody stands up, everybody claps, everybody gets more engaged, right? So if you're down by a goal or two, you may not really ask, but you may pick a fight with another player to bump up your bench, to get the players hitting the sticks on the side of the bench, and to get the fans involved. Why is fighting is on the decline? Because the game has evolved. There actually isn't roster-wise space for somebody whose only skill set is fighting. All the teams are so competitive. There's so much parity in the league. You need a strong fourth line. You need everybody on the ice to have a role that's skill-based, right? And public opinion is definitely coming down from fighting. Fans and observers are not as interested in the fighting aspect. They want to see the more skilled players passing and shooting, and they would like to see that quality of play over what can often just be kind of a long, boring, cumbersome distraction from the rink. And then player safety. All the major sports, there's an emphasis finally on concussions, safety, the longevity of the athletes. We would not want to see a star player go down because of something as silly as a 5-minute fighting major. I will say, as someone that watches a lot of college hockey, fighting is not allowed in college. You would be suspended for a game. So the deterrent is much higher. In NHL, it's a 5-minute. Typically, it's a 5-minute penalty. And since two players are fighting, you're not on a power play or down a player. They just both go off the ice for 5 minutes. So those are some of the reasons why fighting used to occur in larger numbers. It was a sort of a depressure valve, a reset. When things were getting too chippy, it was kind of a reset. fan engagement, momentum, the fact that you had someone on the ice whose job was to fight. And nowadays we just don't have as much fighting for the reasons that I stated above. So it goes to show you that traditions can change and evolve, and fighting is going by the wayside. Our number 2 topic, let's talk about logos and designs, right? I was thinking about doing an episode of a story solely on sports logos, but I decided to be a little bit broader. I will say, and I'm not alone in saying this, that I think the most cohesive, cleanest, best sports logo has got to be the Chicago Bulls. It is iconic. It is aggressive. It is understated. It's got good coloration, clean lines, very readable, very understandable. You know it's a bull from a mile away. They have not messed with it, and that is, I think if you don't mess with the logo, that is a testament to its enduring power. So I'm going to give you 10 logos that I think are an indelible part of American culture, and then you can furiously type in and tell me why I'm completely wrong. Starbucks logo, right? This is the mermaid. Hugely effective. It's unique. You don't think caffeine, coffee, mermaid. I didn't do a lot of research, but I imagine that Seattle, ocean, nautical themes, that probably came into play. It looks like it was actually named after Starbuck, the first mate in Herman Melville's Now Moby Dick. So it's got a good story. It's unique. It's weird. And it is everywhere. It is the green logo, right? Number 9, the I Love New York logo. This is probably one of the most ubiquitous logos, sayings, slogans, stickers, postery, mug type thing you will ever see. Capital letter I followed by a red heart stacked above the capital letters N and Y. If you really want to know, it's the serif typeface American typewriter. So super clean, awesome logo. The London Underground, another very tied to a place, right, logo. Couldn't be simpler. It's the red circle and the blue underground, right? You see it on bus stations, subways, all over Great Britain there. Designed in 1919, has not changed much. There's been little tweaks, but only the most astute eyes could notice, apparently. So it is London's most enduring sign. Red Cross. In general, this is a stand-in for health. This is just the healthcare industry. This is Red Cross. It is ubiquitous, right? It is the cross of equal arms on the white backdrop. Red Cross. The name says itself, right? 1876. This is stood the test of time. You can see a cross with different colors, and it's still kind of in the back of your mind. You're thinking, okay, this is healthcare related. This is first aid. This is help, right? The Apple logo has changed a bit. The one I'm looking at right now is the Macintosh Apple with the bite out of it and the little leaf that's above. And this is the multicolor one. This is the rainbow one. I don't see this one as much, but the Apple logo, regardless of the coloration, has stood the test of time. It's hard to think of a fruit-based logo more important than the Apple, right? And then the swoosh, right? The Nike logo has its own name. It's the swoosh, right? It's the Just Do It. The person that designed it was paid $35. So probably the most bang for your buck, the greatest profit margin per $35 fee, right? Yeah, Nike. What can you say? You can put the logo up anywhere in the world, all 7 continents, and they say, yeah, that's Nike. That's Nike. Its competitors, Adidas, Puma, Reebok. As I'm sitting here right now, I don't think I could tell you what the Reebok logo is. The Puma is obviously the cat in motion, but Nike is probably one of the best clothing brand logos of all time. In terms of other logos, the Shell logo, right, for the gas company, the petroleum, that is your sort of scallop shell, seashell. The yellow, right, and then the red backdrop and the interstitials of the lines there. That's everywhere. To me, that's a stand-in for gas. Oh, gas station, right? McDonald's, Golden Arches. This one also is recognizable. 69 million customers in over 100 countries see it every darn day. Regardless of language, everyone can say Golden Arch. Just showing pieces of it, right? Just the idea of the articulated yellow arc, just a piece of it is synonymous with McDonald's, and your brain can piece it together just from a small subset, which I think is fascinating. Coca-Cola logo. I do appreciate that it looks handwritten. It's that old-timey thing. You don't see a lot of that sort of cursive font. Very swooshy, very sinuous, very curvy. Also one that has been very much unchanged, the only little tweaks. And then this website, and I agree this is a good one. I don't really have a number one. I think all of these could be in line for number one. This particular website that I'm looking at right now did talk about FedEx. I think the negative space is what really sells this. There's that little arrow sign pointing onward and upward. Amazon does something similar. They're A to Z. A lot of companies use very subtle negative space things very articulately, very craftsmanshiply, I guess you could say. So anyway, those are some really important logos. Pepsi, I would say the Michael Jordan logo, the MTV logo is super famous, right? I'm looking at other logos. Airbnb, a couple here I actually didn't even recognize, which is interesting. Baskin Robbins, okay, Levi's jeans, all kinds of good stuff. The YouTube, right? So those are some of the best logos of all time, and I want to share those with you. I want to hear what logo. When I say tell me a famous logo, what is the first thing that jumps into your mind? Okay, all right. My last thing is another podcast recommendation, and I'm gonna recommend the newest season of Serial. So the team that brought you all kinds of stuff. The Bo Bergdahl one comes to mind. Oh, that's the worst one. Heyman Lee's Murder. And they've done a lot of really interesting stuff. This newest season follows a killer whale named Kiko, and he is a star of Free Willy, as a lot of us know. This goes back and talks about really the genesis for the free whale movement, an emphasis on environmentalism and about animal rights, and about his journey to try to get him back into the sea. I will not give away much. Keiko was pulled from a very small freshwater tank in Mexico City, of all places, and he obviously starred in Free Willy, and then a well-endowed group of a group of environmentalists and animal rights individuals set upon a multiple year and continent and $1 million journey to see if they could rehabilitate and get a captive killer whale back in the wild successfully. This is I think a 5 or 6 part series. It's all out right now. There is an episode that will blow your mind for obvious reasons when you get to it. It's kind of like avant-garde and strange and great and weird. And then it kind of gets back into the narrative. It takes you to Iceland. It takes you to Norway. It talks about, does it even make sense to try to rehabilitate an animal that is so far from being a natural killer whale? I mean, he was raised in captivity all his darn life. It's a great, I think it's a great listen. I do not think it is the world's greatest podcast. I think it's actually a little short. I wish there was more to say, but The Good Whale, it is by Serial Productions. I don't have it at my fingers, the man who narrates it and wrote it, but I think he does an excellent job. I don't know what else he's done, but I hope he continues to do journalism. He is excellent. He is probably the best part of this show. The Good Whale by Serial. That's a podcast recommendation. 14 minutes in, I think I better wrap up. Okay, we talked about hockey. I gave you some reasons why it initially was a thing and why it has dwindled in popularity and in terms of frequency. We talked about logos and marketing a little bit, and we talked about a podcast. I hope you have made it this far. If you've made it this far, there's a sleeping cat behind me and the sun is out, and I wish you a phenomenal day. Be good to yourselves, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye.